Tea, anyone? Just kidding, it's water. Okay. What's up, everybody? I am so glad that you are here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be diving into how to color grade some cloudy footage. This is my first tutorial. I'm super excited that you're here. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon. That's going to give you notifications every time I drop new content or go live. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below if there's anything in particular that you want more information on or you'd like to see more of. And share this video if it was helpful at all or gives you any sort of encouragement to get started wherever you are, whatever that looks like, as that is the sole purpose of my YouTube channel. So let's get into it. We're going to be color grading some cloudy footage. Now, I shot this video in Boston, Massachusetts. It was a wedding, and I, believe it or not, in the 4 years that I've been doing this, have never shot a rainy wedding. And this one in particular wasn't just like a little bit of a sprinkle, it was quite a downpour. You know the phrase, when it rains, it pours. And it literally did on this wedding. But to be honest, I really don't think that there's anything more romantic than that. So we ended up getting some absolutely incredible footage, but this was a first for me to color grade in like cloudy circumstances. And you know, more of a traditional type person. I love the sunshine. I love golden hour. So this, I knew going into it was going to be difficult. And so I wanted to share with you how I color graded the footage and how I got the colors to come out the way I did. And hopefully that's helpful for you when you face your next cloudy session. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is the shot that I'm going to use as reference. So I'm going to show you how to take this cloudy piece of footage from this to this. It's a couple of steps, a lot of layering in the color grading, but I've had a lot of requests from people to show you how I do my color grading and all of that. So I really hope this is helpful. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to break it down piece by piece, and hopefully it will resource you for your next cloudy footage. Now, for me, I'm really big on vibrant color. I'm really big on like a little bit of the warmer tones. That's just my vibe. But if that is not yours, feel free to just take this with a grain of salt and do what you want with your footage. Make it look the way that you want it to look. Now, a lot of this starts with in-camera settings. I shoot on Sony, and I love that Sony is able to give you a picture profile, and you can dial in how much you want of certain things in that picture profile. So my picture profile, I do a pretty desaturated color design, and depending on like the lighting scenario, I do emphasize the greens just a little bit more. You're able to manipulate them a little bit better in post-production, but that's just kind of what I like. If that's not what you like, that's fine. But a lot of this is going to start inside of the camera, but I can show you this piece of footage and another piece of footage that were shot in different cameras and kind of how I made them look similar as well, if that's something that you're interested in. So this is straight out of the camera. When I was using the picture profile, I also had an ND filter on the lens, which kind of helped maintain the even whites. And I feel like also helps with a lot of times when you have cloudy footage, the whites will also have like this blue tint. So having that ND filter, I feel like kind of maintained that correct color temperature like all across the board. So if you do not have an ND filter, especially if you're shooting video, I highly recommend getting one. It has really helped me in scenarios where I have like various lighting and I don't have to lose my aperture. So that's really, really helpful. But this is straight out of the camera using the ND filter in the picture profile, which is really awesome. So I did quite a bit of layering with this. So the first thing that I always do is I go with a LUT, and I got this LUT off of, I believe it was Envato Elements, which they have like a monthly subscription if that's something that you're looking for. But I basically just choose something that kind of like enhances the color and points it in the direction that I'm wanting to go. When I started, I thought that LUTs were like, you just download them and paste them and that's the end of your color grading. But it got to the point where like I wasn't really getting the colors that I had envisioned for the session when I started. So that became like a little bit of a problem. So I started adding more elements to the LUT and just like found something that was kind of in the direction that I want it to go. So this is the LUT that I'm using. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description of this video where you can either purchase it or download it. But as you can see, I have it dialed back. So this is what it looks like at 100%, which that's like way too much. It's too much orange, too many reds and purples, which is just not my thing. So the first step to it for me is kind of finding where I want my LUT to be at, which a lot of people, you know, they color grade from scratch, but that's just not what I did with this particular shot. So I found the LUT that I really liked and dialed it in here. So here's the before and after so far. So it's kind of warmed it up just a little bit. There's a little bit more purple in there than I would have liked. So that is really where the next step comes in. And we're going to be talking about color wheels here. And to be quite frank, like color wheels, if you're not using your color wheels, like you're missing, in my opinion, like 85 to 90% of all of your color design, because my LUT just was like a general point in the direction that I wanted to go. My color wheels really are like where the magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and reset the color wheels that I had. So this is what I had, but for the sake of recreating what I'm going for, we're going to reset this bad boy. So coming into the color wheels here, I am going to try to pivot the color grading away from that like purpley glow that it has going on. Also, I feel like it's lacking a lot of the depth that the final shot had, which is what I really, really like. And the fact that it's cloudy. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that this was a moody wedding. And I really feel like that's what the couple was also going for. So I'm going to do a little bit of some enhancement work here. Since the highlights are a little subdued, I'm going to boost them just a little bit and then play around with the midtones here. I like really nice, even skin. And I feel like a lot of the times you'll find that in the midtones. So I'm just going to like play around with this a little bit to see exactly how it looks. And then there's the before and after. It's just a little more enhanced as far as like the depth goes. And we're going to do a lot more when it comes to like the curves and all of that. This is just kind of pointing us in the right direction for our color. Now we're going to play with the highlights button over here. So I'm just going to kind of mess around with this. I do like it to be a little bit warmer, but this is all just kind of trial and error. I think it's best if you start with a little bit and then layer in the rest of the things and then go back and kind of tweak it a little bit. So it kind of just depends, but I'm going to put a little bit of blue here in the shadows so it has that colder feel. But I am not really wanting that purple, a little bit of purple that it seems to be pulling. So that's kind of going in the direction that I like. And then I come over here and kind of play with the saturation a little bit. The shadows, I'm not really wanting to be like too heavily saturated. Let's see. The highlights, not so much either. And then I'll just kind of play with messing with the white balance here. Now, granted, when you mess with the white balance and the color wheels, it is going to, like, if you make it colder, it's going to start pulling blue, because obviously, like, it has a little bit more like purple in it, I have come to find. So you'll also have to kind of like mess with your tint here, which I don't want it to be too cold looking. So let's see. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Yeah. I do want it to pop just a little bit more, but also I'm going to mess with the overall saturation in the global section. All right, so just a little bit of tweaking that we've done. That's the before and after. So that's quite a dramatic change. Okay, so we're going to come in. If I feel like it needs it, I will come in with the color curves. The bulk of what I do comes from the wheels. And a lot of people may say I'm doing this backwards, but to be honest, I'm self-taught. So I may be doing this wrong. I may be doing it backwards, but you know what? If it gets the result that I want, then who cares? Okay, so I'm feeling like it's looking good, but let's just see. So I'm going to create like a little S curve here. Sometimes if it's like, if the whites and the highlights are feeling really bright, I will bring the top half of the S curve below the actual like starting line, along with the midtones. I'll kind of drop everything down. So can you see, I don't know if you can see, let me see. Can I make this window bigger? No? Okay, cool. That's fine. If, as you can see, it's kind of like smoothing out the skin just a little bit, at least for her, to where it's like not so separated. That may not be your cup of tea, but like it is mine. So that's what I'm going with here. And then I can come back in and re-enhance those shadows and blacks just a smidgen. And because dropping the midtones down like that, you lose a lot of that exposure. I can come back in and do this just a little bit. It's kind of just, for me, a lot of this is trial and error. So you just kind of play with it until you get the result that you like. But for me, a lot of the magic really happens here. So let's see. I mean, I do feel like that's smoother. Yeah, I don't know. I do like that. And then you can do a lot with the curves here. So you can start messing with this and try to balance it all out. Let's see. I don't know. I don't really feel like it needs a ton here. If you do too much on one of these lines here, so when you pull the red down, it pulls cyan. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If you pull the green down, it's going to draw out that purple. So if you pull the red down, it's going to draw out that really teal blue. And if you pull the blue down, it's going to pull out yellow. But then when you push it up, it'll do the color that it's showing. So I think it's just like the opposite. But yeah, I don't think you really want much, if anything, of this at all. If I was going for like some sort of like super creative, like color design, wanting it to feel like super filmy and all of that, then I probably would spend a lot more time messing with this. But to be honest, I don't really think it needs it. I really like the way that it came out without any of this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. The next thing that I like to do is just kind of refine the colors a little bit here in the hue saturation area. So as you can tell, the greens are like really green. Nothing against that. It's just like a lot. So I'll do a little bit of like desaturating that. And then also the fact that like this is kind of a blue green along with the shadows. I'm thinking that I want to shift the highlights a little bit to the yellow, and then I want to enhance the shadows to have more of like that blue, because shadows have more blue than they do warmth, and the highlights the opposite. So I'm just going to come in here in the hue and start messing with it. And keep in mind, like it's not going to look perfect right when we start. So I'm just going to shift this, just come in and push this. And I think, as you can tell, it kind of like affects their skin a little bit. So I'll have to go in. If I do too much, I'll have to go back in and kind of refine it a little bit. Not wanting to do too much, but as you can tell, if you pull it down, it's going to be more blue. I'm just wanting it to be like just a touch more yellow. So then it can kind of like refine this. Also, she has like some redness in her skin really showing, which is not like a huge deal. But since I want like that kind of like smooth looking appearance for like their skin and everything, I'm going to go ahead and play with this just to kind of give it a little bit more like, just a little bit more of like a flow. Okay. And that seemed to really emphasize the yellow in the bushes, which is too much in my opinion. So I'm going to push this back down just a touch and then come in here and maybe pull it down into the blues a little bit more to emphasize the warmth of their skin. There we go. That's looking better. So here's the before. It's subtle. Like I said, it's probably not like this huge ordeal. But for me, I spent a lot of time on my color grading because I want it to feel just like as professional as possible. And I don't know, maybe I just have a problem. It could also be true. I want to make sure that she doesn't look less saturated than he is. So I'm going to come over here and just play around with stuff. Now, when I have to create like a new point on the line, I always do one on either side so that it doesn't yank the entire line up. Because if you do that, you're going to raise the saturation of the entire picture, which that looks awful. So don't do that. Create a more refined line so it's the only thing that you're really messing with, which this is really pulling on this side of her face. So I'm not sure that that's what I want, but maybe just a little bit. A lot of this stuff is going to be in the minuscule details that not everybody would pay attention to. Okay, so we've done pretty much everything. I love to add a little bit of film grain, and that's about as much as I'll add. So, yeah, I think that this is a good before and after here. So let's do, that's the before and that's the after, which I really, really like. I think the only thing that's kind of thrown me off is we're having a lot of like warmth overall. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this a little bit more towards the blues here. Wait, not too much though, because I don't want it to affect the entire picture. You definitely want to have like a nice even set of colors, especially when it comes to appealing to what you saw with your eye and how you want it to feel on the back end. Like I definitely want it to not feel like it's just washed over with this orangey color. So I want to maintain like the cool, moody look of the entire picture, which is why I'm really kind of pulling the shadows into that blue feel. But then I can maybe push the white balance into a little bit higher of a Kelvin number. So, all right. Yeah. And right here, you really see the power of the color wheels here. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. So let's look at the before and after one last time. Yeah, I really like this. So yeah, we can even watch the shot in real time. Love that. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. So I just color grade the rest of my footage really similar. So that's pretty much how I approach color grading cloudy footage. Keep in mind, I did have an ND filter on my lens, which helped maintain my highlights. And I did put a lot of effort into making sure my picture profile that I was shooting on gave me kind of a blank canvas. I didn't shoot on S-Log. I dialed in specific settings into my picture profile to give me this particular image. But if that's something that you want me to dive into as far as tips on making the most use out of your camera with your picture profiles and showing you what shooting with an ND filter looks like and shooting without one, leave me a comment. I hope this video is helpful. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend if it is useful in any way, and make sure you're subscribed. I drop new content every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to be doing lots more of content like this where I show you behind the scenes tips and trips on color grading, shooting, anything like that. But I also do really funny videos where I react to my old content. It's super cringy, but we get lots of laughs, and honestly, like, who doesn't love to laugh? So make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching and hanging around. I hope to see you next time, but until then, ta-ta for now.